Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good afternoon, everybody. Revered Mataji, I'm endlessly grateful to her, as we all are, for organizing this amazing series of programs. I was just thinking today, the body of work that she has put together over the last so many years, all these amazing seminars and workshops. And so definitely we're grateful to Mataji and her team. And thank you to everybody else who is participating here and online. So the subject that I've chosen is a particular favorite of mine. It's this book, the Ashtavakra Gita, also known as the Ashtavakra Sanghita. It's in the form of a dialogue between the sage Ashtavakra and the emperor Janaka, the king Janaka. The sage is the teacher and the emperor is the student. But of course, both are enlightened. So the dialogue is really not a teaching meant to enlighten the emperor. It's mostly through that we are being taught. We are being taught. This knowledge is transmitted to us. This book is rather unique. See, in Advaita Vedanta, the root texts are the Upanishads. All of Advaita Vedanta, including the Ashtavakra Gita, they're all based on the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedas. The Upanishads together are known as Vedanta. In fact, the definition of Vedanta, which we have to memorize as novices, is Vedanta Nama Upanishad Pramanam. Vedanta is verily the source of spiritual knowledge called Upanishads. So the Upanishads are the foundation of Vedanta. But based on the Upanishads, of course, there's the most well-known text of Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, and which is considered more or less equal to an Upanishad traditionally. Though technically it's not an Upanishad. And of course, there is another text called the Brahma Sutras, which systematize the teachings of the Vedanta. So what you learn from the Upanishads, also the Bhagavad Gita, it is, various issues rise out of it. These texts use a variety of terminology. Same ultimate reality is called by different names. Different formats, different paradigms are used to drive home the same message. So the Brahma Sutras seek to answer our questions. So that is the philosophical side of it, let's say. So these three together are what are called the triple foundation of Vedanta. In Sanskrit, Prasthanatraya, triple foundation. So anybody who studies Vedanta studies the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutras. But then there are many, many schools of Vedanta. We generally talk about Advaita Vedanta, and that's what I teach, non-dual Vedanta. But depending on the interpretations of the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, multiple schools arose over a period of at least 1400, 1500, 1200, 1300 years. And they all trace, each of these schools traces their origin even further back. So you have non-dual Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, which we are speaking of, and this text is a text of Advaita Vedanta. There is Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, there is Dvaita Vedanta, Dvaitadvaita Vedanta, Shuddhadvaita Vedanta, Achintya Veda, and so on. Multiple schools of Vedanta. It's a huge, huge, vast literature. Now, in the Advaita Vedanta tradition, there are texts which are particular to the Advaita Vedanta tradition. Each of these schools has their own texts. The Advaita Vedanta tradition has many texts. Many of them were composed by Adi Shankaracharya himself. Many were composed by his students or masters in that lineage. Many were more ancient than Adi Shankaracharya. So probably this is, to all evidence, this is probably older than Adi Shankaracharya. And This is a text of Advaita Vedanta. So when we're talking about Vedanta and Ashtavakra Samhita, let's be clear, we're talking about non-dual Vedanta. Now, in Advaita Vedanta, the core practice is hearing, reasoning, meditating. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. You listen to the teachings, or broadly speaking, you study the teachings systematically. And then you reason about it, and then you meditate upon it, and then hope that you are enlightened. So this process, it's an ongoing process. The hearing gives us the knowledge. The Shravana, that is the hearing, the study, it gives us the knowledge. It answers the question, what do these texts teach? What is Advaita Vedanta? What do the Upanishads teach? The Gita, Brahma Sutras, what are they teaching? What would they say? So that question is answered by Shravana, by listening. And then once you have listened and studied it over a period of time, we begin to get a synoptic view, an overall view, a general understanding, a general knowledge of what these texts are telling us. Now we know what these texts are telling us. They're all telling us, you are Brahman, you are infinite existence, infinite consciousness, infinite bliss, and so on. All right. Now what? Well, now I know what the texts are telling me, but I have so many questions. How am I Brahman? What, if at all, there is something like Brahman? And how am I Brahman? I'm just this guy. I'm just a human being. I'm Sarvapriyananda. How am I Brahman? So that those questions will arise. And those questions have to be answered. They have to be answered on the basis of reasoning to the satisfaction of our intellect. So that's the second stage, reasoning. And at the end of the second stage, I can say, not only I know what the teachings are, but now I understand them. My questions have been answered. And if you have some questions, I can answer those questions too. See, at the end of the first stage, you'll be at the position to say that I know what the book says, and I can tell you what the book says. That's why in ancient or in traditional schools, they made you memorize it. Just because you've memorized it doesn't mean that you've understood it. But at the end of the second stage, we can say we have understood it. Now, what remains? One might still complain that I know what that book says. I know what the teacher said. And I've understood it also. But still, it isn't real to me. I really don't feel, I understand the arguments, the reasoning, but I really don't feel that I am Brahman. That it's not a living reality for me. The truth has to be assimilated. There is an associated problem with this, specifically, that yes, I know the teaching, I am Brahman, that's what the teaching is, and now I understand all the arguments in favor of it, I get it, I'm convinced, but it's not reflected in my life. I'm still living life as just this guy Sarvapriyananda, and I'm reacting to life with the same likes and dislikes, the same habitual tendencies, the same suffering, same complaints as this person, and increasing complaints as I grow older and older. So if the goal was to take us beyond suffering, if the goal was to find peace and fulfillment, the goal has not been achieved. Why has it not been achieved? I know the teachings, I've understood the teachings. Why is it not achieved? So there is this question of assimilation of the teachings. So there are meditation techniques at this point. What do you meditate upon? You meditate upon what you have studied, what we have studied and read in the books and heard the teacher, and upon our clarity. You see, without the study and without the clarity, Vedantic meditation will not work. Your mindfulness meditation will work. It's very easy to teach and you can practice it. It has to be practiced. Just follow the breath. Or a mantra meditation will work. Just know the mantra and repeat the mantra and try to focus, stay with it. It's not very difficult. But Vedantic meditation, Advaitic meditation, it requires us to already know the teachings and have understood them quite thoroughly, and then only it becomes Vedantic meditation. So in Vedantic meditation, we attempt to stay with the teachings. There are different words. I like this word. Swami Vivekananda used the word assimilation. That you stay with the teaching. I am that. He used the word I am he. Soham, literal translation. But I'm being more gender correct. So I am that. I am he, I am she, I am they, whatever you like. I am that. So, and you stay with it with understanding, with clarity, until it becomes a living reality. Vivekananda says, until it tingles with every drop of your blood, it becomes an undeniable reality. Are you brainwashing yourself into it? No, no, no. If you did not understand it, if you kept on repeating, it would be something like a positive affirmation. It's not a positive affirmation. It's like saying, see, you're sitting in the chair right there. And if you say that, I am sitting in this chair, it's just a fact. You're just, let's stay with the fact. It will be a fact. The greatest of all facts, still a fact. So assimilation. Another word is, I like this word. It's called marinating. Those who cook, they know that after you're finished cooking, you don't immediately take it off the stove. You put the lid on it, let it simmer, let the spices be absorbed. It's done, but the spices have to be absorbed. You give it time. Similarly, you have the teaching, let it be absorbed. Give yourself time, give the mind time to absorb this new knowledge, to make it one's own, make it part of your own system. Another term, so yeah, these are the things, assimilating, marinating. That is the purpose of Vedantic meditation. There's a word for that, nididhyasana. It's quite different from other meditation techniques. Now, why am I going on and on about that? It's because this book is unique in that way. Some books are meant for the Upanishads are meant for the root teachings. You know the actual teachings from the very source. The Bhagavad Gita also does that and also gives a wide array of advice and spiritual practice. Everything is there. Bhagavad Gita is a complete manual of spiritual life. This is not a complete manual of spiritual life. No, 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 not at all. It's super specialized, this book. There are books which are meant for the second stage, reasoning. They are specialized for that. They are called Vada Granthas, books on dialectics and debate. Often they are in the form of other schools of philosophy attacking non-duality, and what is your reply to them? How do you answer those questions and objections? There are many books like that, and some of them, they're famously, like, they're very difficult books, like, for example, the Advaita Siddhi, the Khandana Khanda Khadya. Advaita Siddhi literally means establishment of non-duality. Khandana Khanda Khadya Sri Harsha, which is nicely named, it means the cookies of refutation. Khanda Khadya is actually in Bengali what you call mishti, sweets. The cookies, the candies of refutation. So it's, for them, is abstruse debates were like eating candies. They used to be on a perpetual sugar high. So, then there is a book called Chit Sukhi. So these are all, they're very difficult books. Somebody called them brain fryers. They will fry your brain if you read them. In fact, and then there are books like this, very few, which are meant for meditation, which sort of, you have the teaching, the reasoning has been done, now the meditation part of it comes. But this summer, actually, I'm doing two texts which are very interesting. This text I'm teaching here, it's going to do a part of this over the next 2 or 3 days. And then next week in Phoenix, I'm going to take up a text which I've never taught earlier. It's called Advaita Makaranda. Swami Atmarupanji, who was in Houston, now he's in Paris. He translated, a very nice new translation has come out. It's a minor text. It's not at all as well as known as this one. But it's unique because that book is entirely about the reasoning part of it. And it's not a brain fryer. It's in a much more lucid form, but the whole focus there is trying to demonstrate to us, not to other philosophies. Other philosophies are not really brought into it. Just trying to demonstrate to us that we are Brahman on the basis of reasoning. On the basis of reasoning. The whole book is just reasoning. It's just questions. Questions are imputed, are implied there, and the answers are there. So the whole thing is just a chain of reasoning. So that's at that level. And then there are these books, which are books on meditation, Vedantic meditation. So if somebody is attending, I don't know if there's anybody attending both retreats. Somebody here, so there are a couple. So you will get you'll see that two books are quite different. This is one kind, and the one you will see there is another kind. And you will see me in two different moods also. So this is a meditative book. Therefore, when you listen to it, if you feel like at some time, because here something is being pointed out to us directly. Swami Prameshanandaji, the disciple of the Holy Mother, he says all of these Vedantic teachings are like the finger pointing at the moon. And mostly, he says, people don't get it. They keep staring at the finger. And then he says, well, that's also all right. If you keep staring at the finger, at least you are not distracted by the nonsense of the world. At least you're fixed on the teaching. The finger which points at the moon is the teaching. All these teachings are like that. It's trying to show us something. And if you begin to get what it is, you'll feel meditative. So when we are talking in this class and in the classes which come, they're all of the same type. If you feel at some point you want to close your eyes and soak in the teaching, the pointing, good, feel free to do that. But the closing of the eyes is for deepening our experience of the teaching of our real nature. Not for, if you feel like you're falling asleep, then keep your eyes open. That's always a hazard, especially in Vedanta classes on non-dualism. If it's 108 degrees out there and an ancient abstruse philosophy here, immediately the result is a kind of samadhi. Ashtavakra, the text is extraordinary. It's sort of unparalleled. I think the only text which comes close to it is the Avadhuta Gita, and there's another one, the Ribhu Gita, which was very dear to Ramana Maharshi. You see, in this book, it's not trying to teach us really anything. It's not trying to argue. There are no arguments here. There are not many things said here also. The teaching tells us many things. Tries to, it's the finger pointing at the moon. It tries to show us. This is just one thing over and over and over again in a grand monotony. So we have to catch what it is. Wherever, it's like the ocean. Wherever you taste the ocean water, it's the same salt. Wherever you taste this book, it's the same one teaching. It's simple and direct. You are Brahman. That's all it is trying to tell us and show us. So that we get the clarity and stay with it. This book is reading this book for a person who has grasped Vedanta, understood, knows the teaching, has understood it. Reading this book is as good as non-dual meditation. Any verse here, it's as good as that. Each verse here is a doorway to the ultimate. It's itself is the finger pointing at the moon, at Brahman. So also the language is simple. Sometimes some of the Vedanta texts, like many other Sanskrit texts, the language can be very difficult. Either it is very flowery, ornate, or sometimes it is elliptical, sort of like speaking in a code. There's nothing like that here. It's simple, direct Sanskrit and simple English translation. One of the translators, Byram, I loved his introduction. He was an English teacher. He was actually a disciple of Neem Karoli Baba, I think. He passed away very young. But in his introduction, which is a very luminous introduction, it's really in the spirit of Ashtavakra. He says that these words, he says that when all the philosophers and the scholars and the sages have had their say, when all the scriptures of the world have spoken and all have fallen silent, Ashtavakra begins. And what he says, the words, they seem to appear from the same radiance he's pointing towards. They appear on the page and they barely stay there before they seem to, disappear back into that radiance again. What beautiful language he uses. You will see the words are like that. All right. Now, since you can take any part of the book, any chapter, it'll teach you the same thing, that you are Brahman. It'll show you that. I have just selected for certain reasons, chapter 15. I can tell you very briefly what those reasons are. It was basically a very great Swami of our order long before our time, my time. Swami Nishreshanandaji from, have you seen, you must have seen him. So he established the Vedanta work in South Africa. This was before the Indian independence and all of that. But he visited the United States, and for a short while he stayed at our retreat in Chicago, near Chicago, the Ganges retreat. And one of the senior Swamis who was there, who passed away recently, Swami Yogeshanandaji, he was there. Brother Shankara, who is in Atlanta, he was there. And this Swami Nishrayashanji, he gave a series of wonderful classes. Yogeshanji thought that these notes should not be lost. They used to write down what he taught. So he published some of those notes as a little booklet. I found it's not available, it's not sold openly. I just found a few, the last remaining copies in the Chicago, the retreat, the Ganges retreat in Chicago, and they were selling it off like a stock clearance for $1 each. So I purchased it, and it's just notes. So, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. In one place, he talks about, if you want to see how the author of the Ashtavakra comes to this conclusion, that something he has said, go to chapter 15 and start reading from the 4th verse onwards. So I went and I saw it's a remarkable sequence. So we will do that. That's why, and that's the background, why I have selected chapter 15. Those who have the book, good, refer to it. Those who don't, get a copy. And right now, you don't have to, you can just listen. I'll just chant the Sanskrit. It's good to know, good to listen to the sound of the original Sanskrit. But don't worry if you don't know Sanskrit, because I'll translate everything, and everything after that will be in English. Even if I repeat a few Sanskrit words, everything will be translated. So don't be anxious. All right, let's dive into it. This is chapter 15, and Ashtavakra is teaching Janaka. 4th verse. Today we'll do the 4th and the 5th because they go together. If those of you who would like to follow the chant, you can chant after me. Natvam deho nate deho, natvam deho nate deho, bhokta karta nava bhavan, bhokta karta nava bhavan, chidruposi sada sakshi, chidruposi sada sakshi, nirapeksha sukham chara, nirapeksha sukham chara. You are not the body, nor is the body yours. You are not the doer, nor the experiencer. The translation here is enjoyer, but enjoyer, sufferer, both. You are consciousness itself, the eternal witness, and free. Go about happily. What could be more simple than that? All right. So when we are told in Advaita Vedanta that you are Brahman, Shankaracharya sings, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, I am the nature of pure consciousness and bliss, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. When we are told that, our first objection is, wait a minute, I don't know, I am not Brahman or pure consciousness, that sounds cool, but I would like to be that, but it sounds very theoretical, and I clearly know who I am. I am this. You mean the body? Yeah, let's start with that. I am this body, the person. I'm this person. This is very clear to me. You seem to be saying something that goes entirely against my direct experience, common experience of everybody. How can you say that? You might say that there is some God in heaven, that even I can swallow, because at least I don't see anything contradicting that. You might even say, after doing a lot of spiritual practice, you will become pure consciousness or Brahman. All right, maybe. But right now you are saying that you are pure consciousness, Brahman, but that seems to entirely contradict my lived experience. So we must start there. And Advaita Vedanta is very radical. It directly goes to our experience, which is available right here, right now, and questions it and demonstrates to us, and hopefully to our satisfaction, that we are actually not what we thought. What we are, that we are actually this limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. Vivekananda in this country, sometimes he would say to American devotees who would come to him with a touch of pathos, he would say, if only you knew yourself as you truly are. So what is this as we truly are, which Vivekananda knows, Ashtavakra knows, but we need to know. So the first thing is, what do you think you are? If you're not Brahman, what do you think you are? Well, I'm this body. And Ashtavakra says, Natvam Deha, you are not the body. Why not? And there are a number of Advaitic, this arguments against this. I'm going to give you a few. And what we'll try to do is listen to what the arguments are. We try to get what the arguments are, but they are not just arguments. They are pointing to a fact right now. And let's try to notice that it's not just, be intellectually convinced of a position, but actually notices, in fact, is it an accurate description of how things are right now? We must notice it in fact, not just as a concept. Listen to the teaching, get the concepts right, but also notice it as a fact, because the beauty of Advaita Vedanta is nothing here is beyond our experience right now. And that's why Vivekananda called it the open secret. It's secret because we don't know it. But it's also open and freely and continuously all the time available to you. Each moment is an invitation to non-dual realization. The Kenopanishad says, Pratibodha viditam matam. In every experience, if you see that non-dual reality, you attain immortality. That means in which experience? Just this common experience. That radiance is available to us openly all the time. So now we see these arguments. Let's take them up one by one. We'll run through them. Many are possible. I'll run through some of the main ones. This is more like, a lawyer trying to convince a jury of its position. So these are not mathematical proofs, but they are arguments. They're like trying to convince you. Why am I not the body? Ashtavakra said, Natvam Deha, you are not the body. Why am I not the body? Notice he has not denied the existence of the body. He said, body is there, but you are not the body. He will deny it later on. It'll come very soon. But right now, he wants to show you something that we don't see right now. Why am I not the body? Well, consider the fact that the body changes. All right. Consider also the fact that you seem to be the same person. You say, I am the same one, and the body changed from babyhood to childhood to youth to middle age to old age. And I don't deny that I am the one who was that baby and that young person and the middle-aged person and the old person. I am the same one. In that case, what is it that was a baby? What is it that was a young person, middle-aged person, and old person? I'm talking about the aging of the body. The body changed dramatically. You might say, all right, so, but if something changes, and so much, and something does not change, as you say, I am the same person. And it's not just you who are saying it, not I who am arguing it. It's common sense. The law requires it. The law holds you to be the same one who was the child, the same one who was the young person, same one who's the middle-aged person. By law, you are that. By common sense, you are that. If something is changing dramatically and something is not changing, the two cannot be the same thing. How can it's completely contradictory to say the same thing is changing and not changing? They must be somehow different. It's like just like somebody's running past you and you catch hold of that person. Now, either you will be dragged along or that person will stop. If you say, I am the body and I am the same all the time, I'm the same one, whatever I am, I'm the same person. I don't know what I am, but I'm the same person always, that I'm sure of. But then you cannot be the fast-changing body. Changing and not changing. In Sanskrit, savikara, nirvikara. With change, with modification, and without modification. They cannot be literally the same entity. One argument. Second argument. The body is an object. I am the subject. The body is known. I am the knower. The knower and the known, the seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. See, it's like common sense. It's our experience. You are seeing this piece of cloth. We are seeing this. And I'm seeing it with the eyes. The eyes are the seer and the cloth is the seen. clearly the eyes and the cloth are different. I just mean it in the most common sense use of the term. They're physically different. In fact, unless they're physically different, the eyes cannot see them. The only thing that the eyes cannot see are themselves. Notice, you can see whatever can be seen, the eyes can see them. And the eyes too can be seen. I mean, there's nothing against seeing the eyes. You can see my eyes, but my eyes, these eyes cannot see themselves. And at this point, somebody will say, have you never heard of a mirror? Have you never heard of a selfie? A mirror is a reflection of your eyes. When you see your eyes in the mirror, you are seeing a reflection of the eyes are not seeing themselves the way they see other things directly. A selfie is a picture of your eyes. When you see the selfie, you're seeing a picture of the eyes. The eyes are not seeing themselves directly. The eyes can only see something that's different from them. This is a part of a principle in philosophy. This is said, it says self-reflexivity is not allowed. A thing cannot operate upon itself. A knife cannot cut itself. They say you cannot lift yourself by your bootstraps, So a thing cannot operate upon itself. The subject cannot be the object. The seer cannot be the seen. And now notice, the body is not only the seen, I can see the body, but every sense organ operates on the body. I can touch the body, I can smell the body, I can taste the body, I can hear the rumbling in my tummy. So the body is an object to all my senses. Therefore, the seer and the seen, the subject and the object, the knower and the known, they must be different. I, as the knower of the body, I must be, whatever I am, I must be different from the body. I cannot literally be the body. It's a thing. The body is a thing. There's an argument here, I can add. Generally, I've never used this argument earlier. And when I tell you this argument, you will realize why. You'll all go, ew. It's very scatological. It's a very toilet argument. Great master, Shankaracharya's own disciple, Sureshwaracharya, about us, this is about 1,200 years ago. In his work, Naishkarmya Siddhi, which means the perfection of transcendence of action. There he gives an argument why you are not the body. And he takes the argument, the example of excretion. He says the moment the excreta, at that moment, the moment it leaves our body, it drops out into the toilet bowl, at that moment it becomes not me. Not only not me, it's disgusting. I will not think about touching it, smelling it. No, it's poop. It's disgusting. In 1 millimeter of separation, the moment you excrete it. And before that, we were happily carrying it around in our tummies. Either it is you or not you. And it's such a vivid example. You can see why it's not used generally. It's such a vivid example, nobody can doubt it. Yet this body is nothing but that stuff. It's the most yucky example of that stuff. But if you open up the most beautiful body, any doctor can tell you, it's full of gooey, sticky, a mess, an ugly mess, smelly mess inside, all of it. It's an object, especially if we could see inside the body. We would say it's an object, it's a thing. These are a mass of things. So it's an object. I am the subject. I am the seer and it's a seen. I see, hear, smell, taste, touch the body. Therefore, the body is an object to be, and I cannot be an object. Therefore, I'm not the body. Another example, another argument. And I'll stop with the third one. This is a subtle one and very powerful. You are aware, right? We are all aware. We are all conscious. We are aware. And we are aware of the body. I am sentient, the body is not sentient. See, when I am aware of this thing, I feel awareness is on my side and this is an object. This is not aware. You might say, how? Why do you say so? Well, look at your experience. Your experience doesn't seem to say that this one is aware. So whatever we experience is an object to awareness, and awareness is on the side of the experiencer. You are aware, and that is an object to aware, that is not aware. At this point, somebody might argue that, wait a minute, that piece of cloth is fine, it's not aware, let's take it for granted. But when you look at us, Swami, don't you think we are aware? You're looking at us. But when we're looking at somebody, we're looking at the body of that person. We're looking at the behavior of that person. We are listening to the words of that person. At no point is the awareness of that person an object to you. Let me repeat that. When you experience another person who is sentient, a sentient being, an aware being, notice whatever you can experience about that person is an object. The body, the words, the behavior. If you were a telepath, if you could look into the mind of another person, you would still see thoughts, feelings, emotions lit up by your own awareness. Awareness itself never becomes an object. So it's always on the side of the person who is the experiencer. You are aware, and what you experience is not aware. So look at this body. The body is something I'm aware of. The body is not aware of me. This is in Sanskrit called Chit Jara. Chit Jara, conscious, not conscious. The two cannot be the same. Why am I saying this? These two cannot be the same. They're distinctly opposite. Like Shankaracharya says, Tama Prakashavad Viruddha Swabhavaya. They are of extremely different natures, like light and darkness, conscious and not conscious. And just take a look at one part of the body. Clearly, I am aware of this hand. The hand doesn't seem to be aware of me, Sarvapriyananda. It doesn't say, hello, Sarvapriyananda, long time no see, you haven't paid attention to me. No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't feel that. Not in my experience, at least. So, I am aware, sentient, this is insentient. For these, let's say just these three reasons. Why? Ashtavakra says, you are not the body, natvam deha. Why not? One, savikara nirvikara. With change and without change, the body changes continuously. I do not change. Second, drigdrishya. I am the seer, the body is the seen. The seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. Therefore, I am not the body. Third, chit jara. I am conscious, sentient. The body is not conscious, not sentient. So the two, sentient and not sentient, they cannot be the same thing. Chit jara cannot be the same thing. For these reasons, I am not the body. Now, as I said earlier, let us see. This is not just understand these arguments, but let us see, is it a fact that the body is changing and I consider myself to be the same, unchanging? Yes. Because, you see, if people say that, no, I have also changed. If you look closely, please give an inventory of your changes. You will see those are changes in the body or in the mind or in the personality, not you as awareness. So changing and unchanging as a fact, seer and the seen as a fact right now, conscious and not conscious as a fact right now. And as we dwell on that, we'll begin to see that I'm not literally this hand or the flesh or the bones or the unmentionable stuff I mentioned earlier. I am not that. At this point, we might say, yes, I didn't literally mean that I am blood and feces and flesh and bones. I didn't mean that. I mean, this is my body. This is what I mean. It's my body. And Ashtavakra says, Nate deho. It's not your body. The very next part of that verse is, it's not your body. You are not the body, and the body is not yours. One monk in the Himalayas, he put it so nicely. What I'm going to say now is basically, I'm translating in my head from Hindi. He says, why is it how is it your body? Koi tohfa diya hai aapko? Did somebody give it to you as a gift? Do you own it? Do you have the papers for it? Like if cops pull you up, not the car, your body. Please give me the papers to your body. Who gave you that body? Did you make it? No. Did even your parents make it? Not really. It's nature which did just about all the job. So I didn't make this body. Nobody gave it to me. I don't have the documents for this body. I don't own the materials out of this body is made or maintained. The food and all the chemicals and all that. None of that I made, nor do I own that. One might argue, no, what I mean is I control this body. I am in charge of this body. See, I want to raise my hand, I can raise my hand. So this body responds to me, and therefore it is my body. Not really. Most of the activities of this body, almost all of it, is done by nature, not by us, voluntarily. And thank God. Imagine all the blood circulation and the hormonal activity and the neurology of the brain and the nervous system and the digestion, all of that. If I was asked to do it, even the most workaholic, the guy in Wall Street, wouldn't be able to manage one body, just his own body, even for a few minutes. You'd just collapse. Call 911. What happened? He was given charge of his own body. We wouldn't be able to run it. We'd just, we'd die. So almost everything in this body is being done by nature. And still, voluntary actions, my thoughts, words, even those, if we look carefully, it's only because the body enables it. Raising my hand. Go and see the victims of a stroke, those who are paralyzed on one side. They want to raise their hand and they cannot. The body no longer responds. And even when it does respond and everything goes on as we want it to, I want to raise my hand now and see I did it. So it's my body. But I want to raise my hand. That impulse comes up in my mind. From where? Something has come up in the mind. From where did it come? So we are not even really in charge of this body. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Prakrityeva karmani kriyamanani sarvasha. All actions in this universe, even the ones which we think we are doing voluntarily, they are all being done by nature. Ya pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. What does that mean? The one who realizes this, that everything is being done, including in this body, everything is being done by nature. That one realizes by true self, as I truly am, I am always a witness, not a doer, not somebody who's an agent of action. It's a delusion, an illusion to think that I am actually in charge of this, the activities of this body mind. Nate deha. It's not your body either. Then what am I? I thought I was this body. Then what am I? And Ashtavakra says, Chidruposi. You are of the nature of consciousness, pure consciousness. What's that like? What's that like? We'll see. Let's try this. See, all of this is very experiential. It's good to see and try it and get it. We will get it immediately when we see it as a fact right now. So look at this piece of cloth in my hand. Now I'm going to ask you, do you see this piece of cloth? Yes. And are you there? Do you exist? Just, commonsensical. Am I here? Yes, I am here. I exist. Now let's close our eyes. When we close our eyes, if I ask you the same question, do you see the piece of cloth? No, you don't see it. It may be there, may not be there, but you don't see it. But do you exist? Even without seeing anything, do you still exist? Yes. And if I say that if you don't smell anything, you close your nostrils and you don't taste anything, and you have a very neutral feeling on your skin, and even if you don't hear my words, no seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, would you still exist? Yes. Now, suppose all our memory, you can gently open your eyes. Suppose all our memory is gone. I don't remember who I am. I have a bad case of amnesia. All right, memory is gone. Am I still there? Yes. Suppose my emotions, I'm not feeling anything particular. I'm not very happy. I'm not very sad. It's very neutral. No particular emotion. Am I still there? Yes. Suppose I don't think anything. Right now, I'm not thinking. Stop for a moment. Just for a moment, if I stop, am I still there or have I disappeared? Not very confident anymore. If you stop thinking for a moment, would you disappear? We stop thinking. Sometimes the mind is blank. Sometimes in deep meditation, we have a peaceful meditation. We don't seem to think. In deep sleep, we do not think, cease, remember, sense, anything at all. Not the world, not our bodies, not even our personalities, minds, nothing. And it would be ridiculous to say that we have disappeared because we pop back happily every time or unhappily when we wake up in the morning next day. So we must be existing in some form. In some sense, we are there. So we exist even when thinking stops. Now notice what we have achieved here. In experience, in fact, as a matter of fact, we have all admitted it, that if I don't see, hear, smell, taste, touch, I still exist. If I don't feel anything, if I don't remember anything, if I don't think of anything, I still exist. This is one. Now reverse it. That one which exists without any sensory activity, that one which exists without any thinking, remembering, feeling, that one, if that did not exist, that consciousness, that being, that entity, if that did not exist, would you be able to see anything? Do you understand the question? Some of you at least understand the question. Think. A simple example is this. I am here and I'm seeing the cloth. All right. If the cloth is not there, I am still here. But if I, this conscious being, were not there, would that seeing of cloth be possible? No, this is the question. If that entity were not there, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching would not be possible. Thinking, remembering, feeling, desiring, enjoying, suffering would not be possible. That one light, which you are, which you have admitted you are, because of which every experience takes place, and which exists without those experiences also, that is consciousness. The Upanishads put it very beautifully, a very poetic, powerful language. That shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything is lit up. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. That shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything here is lit up. You shining, everything here shines. By your light, everything here is lit up. It's a fact which we are experiencing right now all the time. You shining, the mind then is experienced. The mind shines with awareness. The mind, you shining, illuminating the mind, the luminous mind now illumines your senses. And then you have the experience of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, feeling. All of that lit up by that awareness which you are. By your light, everything here is lit up. This is literally the meaning of the Upanishadic teaching. So, Chidruposi, you are of the nature of pure consciousness. Sada Sakshi, always the witness, never an object. It's never seen. That witness consciousness, that thing which we intuited just now, is it an object? Can it be seen? You, the consciousness, you, can you be seen, that one? No. Can it be heard, smelled, tasted, touched? No. It's not the body. So it cannot be done. You can't do that. It's not an object. It's ever the witness of all objects. It's that, let's put it this way, it's that to which all objects appear. What are objects? Physical objects like this, which appear to you if you see. Auditory objects like my speech, which appear to you if you hear. Mental objects like thoughts, emotions, ideas, memories, which appear in the mind, are illumined by you, the consciousness. You are ever the witness, never the witnessed. Ever the subject, never an object. Another meaning of this, Sada Sakshi. You see how much is packed into these verses. Another meaning. When you say witness, there is a kind of activity called witnessing. There's a witnessing meditation, for example. Sit quietly, observe the body, observe the breath, observe the sensations in the body. If we have done mindfulness meditation, it will sound familiar. Then following the breath, keeping the breath as an anchor, breathing in, breathing out, observe the emotions, observe, be a witness to the thoughts and memories arising in the mind. That's a practice. That's still the mind. That's the mind. It's an activity of the mind. It's a good practice. But this is very important to know. This is not at all what Advaita Vedanta is talking about. It's an easy mistake to make. When you use the term like witness, we think, oh, they're telling us to be a witness. This is a good practice, but that's not what they're saying. He's saying Sada Sakshi, ever the witness. What Advaita Vedanta is saying, even when you are not witnessing, even when you are not listening to a Vedanta talk, even when you are not doing mindfulness meditation, you have not the least spiritual thought in your mind, a Vedantic thought in your mind, you're engaged in the business of life, even then you are a witness. What does it mean by witness? That consciousness. In what sense is it a witness? It is a light, it's an illuminer. It illumines, it reveals. See, how are you a witness when you're not even trying to be a witness? When you are, say, busy talking with somebody, maybe dealing with a client or teaching students or driving in a busy road, and you're completely focused outside. Answer one question. Are you seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching? Are you thinking? Are you enjoying, suffering, desiring? Are you anxious? Are you expecting something? All of this is going on, isn't it? If all of this is going on, that means you, the light, are there. But these are experiences. That light is the witness. This is not a witness of the mind, witnessing mind. No, it is you, the consciousness. I'm reminded of a monk in the Himalayas who put it very nicely. He said, talking to a group of monks, so after listening to this, you feel that you are the witness? In Hindi, he said, "To Mahatma ji, lag raha hai na ki aap sakshi ho? You feel you are the witness?" And some monks must have nodded. He said, in Hindi, I'll translate. He said, "Bahut bade gadde mein giroge. You're going to fall into a particularly big hole, a big pit, a big mistake. Because that kind of witness which you feel, that is there right now. You're feeling calm and you're detached, and then you go outside, something upsetting, nothing upsetting has to happen. It's just 108. So that's enough. And you don't feel like the witness anymore. They say, oh, it's too hot. It's awful. No, what Advaita Vedanta says, that was the mind trying to be the witness of its own movements and the body, mind, and the world. But that mind continuously changes. It's not ever a witness. Sometimes you can be a witness when you're practicing. But this consciousness, this pure awareness, Chidrupa, pure consciousness, which you are, that is ever, choicelessly you are a witness. That's why it is said, Sada Sakshi. So ever the witness means two things are there. It's never an object, always the subject. And it is not the mental activity or meditation, witnessing meditation. It's a choiceless light which shines always, your real nature, which will never change. That's why it's Sada Sakshi, always the illuminer. Subtle point here, that sometimes people say, I get it, Swami, but when I go outside the class after some time, it's lost, it's just gone. And then until the next lecture, or when I read the book, or next YouTube suggests it to me, algorithm, who am I, or something like that, then I remember again. So what will be the question? How to stabilize this? How do I remain in that calm and this always this witness consciousness? This how will it become steady? You understand the question? Now, the real answer to this, there are techniques for stabilizing, but the real answer to this is, it's not really a problem of stabilizing, it's a problem of understanding. Answer to this is, when you were experiencing, I'm not the body, not the mind, I'm the witness consciousness, were you conscious then or not? And when you forgot everything, when you got embroiled in the world and a lot of things were going on in the world, but were you conscious then or not? And when you remembered suddenly, oh, I've forgotten the witness consciousness, were you conscious then or not? And when you listen to the next talk or read the next Ashtavakra next time again, at that time, are you conscious or not? And this consciousness all throughout, is it the same consciousness or not? Did that consciousness change? No. That's what we are talking about. Sada Sakshi, Nirapeksha Sukham Chara. Na bhokta na karta. Bhokta karta nava bhavan. Sir, you are not the agent of action, nor the experience of the results of action. You are the illuminer of all actions. And you are the illuminer of the experience of all actions. When there is misery because of my past bad karma, you are the illuminer. I am that light which illumines that misery. When there is pleasure, the result of past good karma, I am the illuminer of that pleasure. I make possible the experience of that misery. I make possible the experience of that pleasure. But I am not the one who is the enjoyer or the sufferer. No more than if there is a fight going on in the movie, somebody is dancing and enjoying in the movie. The screen is not dancing. It's not the dancer. Or if somebody is in pain in the movie, you see, the screen is not in pain, but the screen makes it possible for the experience to happen. Somebody is enjoying it right now, this Vedanta class, hopefully many of you are. The light is illumining you enjoying it, your smiley face. But the light is revealing it, but the light is not involved in your enjoyment. Somebody is utterly bored and thinking, when will it end? The light is revealing your bored face, but the light is not bored. Similarly, you are the light. Nirapeksha sukham chara. So what? Here is the practice. Where what do you call it? Where the rubber hits the road. Walk the talk. Nirapeksha. Be free of all anxiety and expectation. Nirapeksha means being free of anxiety, being free of expectations. See, if I am that limitless consciousness, the body is born, it ages, it gets disease, it dies. I illuminate in all stages of its journey. When it comes, it's born, I'm happy with it. Good, welcome. When it changes and develops and grows, becomes a school kid, then goes into college, and then, the journey of its life, the ever-present luminosity, I reveal that, make all those experiences possible. And when it finally ages, decays, dies, I'm not impatient with it. Nirapeksha. I am not the body is not mine. At this point, someone might question, whose is it then? It's not mine. Who made it? Who does it belong to? There are two answers to this. I'll give you the preliminary answer. One very great monk in the Himalayas, he passed away a few years ago. I consider that he was probably an illumined soul. So only a couple of times I spoke with him. First time I met this monk, it was in Haridwar. He was sitting in the ashram on the floor wearing a loincloth. Before I could ask him any question, I bowed down to him. He told me a few things, which I remember till now. Basically, these teachings like this, but in Hindi. But one thing he said, what is the consequence of all of this? Now you might ask this question. In Hindi, he said, Ab is sharir ka kya karna? What is to be done with this body? Not just this body, this mind, this person. If I am this ever shining, never changing luminosity, but this body is still appearing and this personality is still appearing. It's only through this I'm interacting with the world. What is to be done with this now? Ab is sharir ka kya karna? Look at his answer. He says, Ishwar ka hai, Ishwar ko samarpan kar do. It belongs to God. Surrender it to God. Dedicate it to God. Recognize that it belongs to God, basically. It is not mine. It is God's. Who made it? God made it. Who's maintaining it? God is maintaining it. Its birth, its aging, eventual decay, disease, you should be unruffled by it. You are ever the illuminer. It's God's. Let God do with it what in all his omniscient wisdom, whatever he wants. Why should I be so much upset about it? So this is one answer. ईश्वर का है, ईश्वर को समर्पण कर दो. It's God's, surrender it to God. So this is a practice. Why is it a practice? There will be any number of occasions to practice. The moment I step out of this 108 degrees and the body feels uncomfortable, remember, I have no right to say, it's so hot and I don't like it and I'm so uncomfortable. No, you are not. You are the light which reveals the body and its discomfort. The body belongs to God. God has made that heat. God has put the body in that heat. And it's an excellent occasion to practice. Can I notice it? But it's a fact. It's a fact. When you look at it this way, you will see that every moment of our lives, there is a doorway to the infinite, an occasion to practice and develop spiritually. The wind of God is ever blowing. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the wind of grace is ever blowing. Raise your sail. Your Ashtavakra is giving you the highest practice. In the midst of your life right now, nirapeksha, be free of worry. Can you do that as a practice? You can no longer say, how can I be free of worry? My health, my insurance, or the lack thereof. And then my son, my daughter, my job, or the lack thereof, and all of that. But you cannot say that now anymore. Chidruposi, pure consciousness. Whose son, whose daughter? It's not that you're disowning them. You're actually owning them even more. They are all one with you. Notice one thing, this witness consciousness, which we just talked about, this awareness, is it a personal thing? By that, what I mean is, the body is different. Each body is personal. They're clearly different from each other. Even our minds are different. Our attitudes, thoughts, memories, our personal journeys are different. Personal stories are different. So this is what I mean by personality. But at the witness consciousness, which we have an intuition of now, is it an object? Is it personal? It's impersonal, entirely impersonal. And the proof of that is that it will be the same in every being. Is it not so? The light, that the awareness which we are, the mind is not the same in every being. The bodies are not the same in every being, but the witness consciousness is the same in every being. In your son, in your daughter, in your troublesome neighbor and much disliked boss, same one consciousness, exactly the same. Not a different one. You the same consciousness in that body and mind. Nirapeksha. And the more we do this, the result will be sukham chara. Move about happily. You don't have to sit in meditation. Move about. Go through life. Walk, talk, eat, drink, do your job, be in the family, be a monk in the mountains. Whatever you do, sukham chara. Live happily. It's very difficult. That's the practice. Logically, we must admit, if I am this limitless consciousness, not born, not dying, not changing, ever illumining everything, choiceless witness, then I should have no problem living happily. If I'm grounded in that. So how to get grounded? This struggle, nirapeksha. Try to be free of anxieties, try to be free of worries, try to be free of expectations. All worries, expectations, anxieties are with regard to the person. That does not mean you'll be inactive. You can do everything. This is the beauty of Advaita Vedanta. It's not against any activity. It makes you fearless and limitless in this world. With eyes closed, the same one luminous consciousness. With eyes open, the same luminous consciousness is illumining this vast display of the world. Let me just read the next verse. I will not explain in detail. The same logic will apply. He's now going to say, it's not the mind either. Just as you are not the body, you are not the mind. Just as the body is not yours, the mind is also not yours. Even more difficult, the mind is not mine. First of all, we think we are the mind. Now he's telling us you are not the mind. But it's my mind. It's not your mind. It's who is it then? Ishvara. So I said, this is one level of answer. There's a deeper level of answer. It's nobody's. It doesn't exist. How can it be anybody's? See, if there's a car out there, we can say, whose car is that? Double park. Whose car is that? And somebody will say, it's my car. But if you saw a car on the movie screen, and if I ask, whose car is that? Not in the movie, in reality. Say, Swami, there's no car. It's just a picture. Similarly, body and mind. It's this the question, whose body, whose mind, who made it? The answer is that it's an appearance in consciousness. That's the deeper answer. Otherwise, if that's too much, you can at least surrender to God. Ishvara is the creator of this entire universe, including this body and all bodies and all minds. So I surrender all this to him. As that monk said, Ishwar ka hai, Ishwar ko samarpan kar do. It belongs to God, surrender it to God. Fifth verse. Ragadvesho manodharmo, Ragadvesho manodharmo, Namanaste kadachana, Namanaste kadachana, Nirvikalposi bodhatma, Nirvikalposi bodhatma, Nirvikara sukham chara, Nirvikara sukham chara. Attachment and abhorrence are attributes of the mind. The mind is never yours. You are consciousness itself, free from conflict and changeless. Go about happily. So the likes and dislikes, memories, emotions, ideas, my own story, all of that is mind. The ego, the intellect, these are all different functions of the mind. And I am not the mind. Why not? Remember the three arguments. Changing, unchanging. You have to apply it here. Seer and the seen. Seer and the seen. And the third one, conscious, not conscious. Chetana Jada. You are aware of the thoughts. The thoughts are not aware of you. Just think, I give this example, simple example. ABCD or 1, 2, 3, 4. Think right now, ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I aware of ABCD or is ABCD aware of me? Is ABCD saying, hey, Sarvapriyananda, you haven't taught me in many days? No. ABCD, when I say that, it's just like mental talk. So thoughts are also objects. They are not conscious. You are conscious of them. You are the light which illumines these objects through your senses and the thoughts which are subtle objects. So consciousness illumines both, all kinds of objects. So the mind is not you and it is not yours either. Nirvikalposi. This is a very loaded term. I won't explain, it just means usually there is a division of knower, known, and method of knowledge. So I am the knower. The eyes are the knowing instrument and the cloth is the known object. Knower, knowing instrument, and the known object. In Sanskrit, pramata, pramana, prameya. Pramata, the knower. Pramana is the instrument of knowledge. And prameya, the object of knowledge. So these three are always there. Right now, you see, you can apply it. When you hear something, see, smell, when you think something, when you understand something. It could be something as physical as seeing a piece of cloth, or it could be something as subtle as understanding a mathematical equation. The mathematical equation is the object of knowledge. Your intellect is the instrument of knowledge, and you are the knower. So these three divisions, he says, nirvikalposi. You, the pure consciousness, are not divided in this way. You alone appear as the knower, the instrument of knowing, and the known object. Or rather, if that's too difficult, this much should be clear. The known object appears in you, the consciousness. The knowing instrument appears in you, the consciousness. And the knower, I, this person who is knowing, also appears in you, the consciousness. You are the consciousness in which all three appear, in which there is no division of the knower, known, and known object. A knower, knowing instrument, and known object. So what are you? Bodhatma. You, the self, your bodha. Bodha means consciousness, light, awareness. Exactly what we saw earlier. Chidrupa, of the nature of pure consciousness, pure light. Light means not this light, consciousness. Nirvikara sukham chara. Changeless. The mind is continuously changing. Body is continuously changing. Whereas you, that light is not changing at all. Nirvikara. Then back to work. Here's the assignment before you. Sukham chara. Try to live happily in this world. Try it out. Take it out for a spin, as the Americans would say. So your rich uncle Ashtavakra has given you a spiritual Ferrari. Take it out for a spin. But be careful. Like all Ferraris, they're dangerous. You must learn how to drive in the parking lot first before you take it out on the road. Good. Now we'll take up some questions. You may run a few minutes over time, maybe. How do we do the questions in person with the microphone?
Yeah.
So you raise your hand, I'll point to you, and our volunteers will come to you.
Okay.
The gentleman with the blue shirt at the back, then we'll work our way upwards. Tell us your name and ask the question. Good. That's part of at least part of the teaching objectives is first to confuse us.
I can hear his voice, but it's not amplified through the speakers. It's not good.
You speak into the microphone, yeah. Yeah.
There we go. That's fine. Now he's-
I feel that I can feel that. I feel that awareness is weakness and something. So I'm radiating away.
Yes.
Everything happens in my mind. So
Yes.
time, that's that one.
You're not objectifying the awareness at that point of time. When we feel that I am aware of awareness, it's basically the mind lit up with awareness, which I'm aware of. Yeah. Our thoughts, our understanding, the process which is going on, the inquiry which I'm doing, that is shining in awareness. That's so close to us. Yeah. It's not that it's here, at least the eyes are here and the cloth is there, physically distant. But as far as awareness is concerned, it's like that space in which everything is happening right there. So the thoughts are lit up by awareness, which is called reflected consciousness, chidabhasa. That's what you're sensing. We all feel aware now. See, this is a question. We all feel aware now. And we also, if I ask you, do you feel aware? You'll say, oh yeah, we feel aware. We're quite conscious. We're quite awake, conscious. Yeah? So in that case, are we not objectifying awareness? So if I'm aware of awareness, no, this is still the mind, but it's lit up by awareness. This awareness lighting up the mind is called reflected consciousness. It's like looking at your face in the mirror. Is it your face? No, it's still the mirror, but your face is reflected in the mirror. Yeah.
Swami, this is coming from online.
Yes.
It's coming from Richa. How can an infinite no thing, that is the self or Atman, become trapped in a finite thing like our body-mind complex for multiple cycles of birth and death? Is it possible logically? Finite can be a part of infinite, but how can infinite be a part of finite?
Good question. How can the infinite be a part of the finite? It cannot. How can an infinite existence, consciousness be trapped in finite bodies and minds and go through cycles of birth, suffering and death and so on? The straight answer is it cannot. And then, I mean, your expression will say, so gotcha. That means there's something wrong with your philosophy. No. Advaita Vedanta, in fact, strongly affirms that it cannot. And it's great that we have now understood it. We are in the right paradigm now. So what's going on here? It cannot and it does not. The Atman is never trapped in a cycle of birth and death. That is, in fact, the highest statement of Advaita, which Ashtavakra continuously says. You were never born, actually. It's not that we were born and we were somehow trapped in these bodies and we suffered and died and we were born again. The usual paradigm which we learn as Hindus, multiple lives. And according to Advaita Vedanta, you were never born. But all of this was an appearance in you. And somehow, because of this ignorance of our real nature, it only seems to be that we were trapped in these bodies and mind. When we become enlightened, what will happen is when we become enlightened, we realize that we were this limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, and we were always that. It's not that, I am this limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, this Atman, Brahman, whatever you call it, this Sakshi, witness. And until now, I was trapped in samsara. And thanks to the Vedanta Society and Ashtavakra class, now I am liberated from samsara. You will not feel like that. You will realize, oh my God, I was never trapped in samsara. It's like looking at your face in the mirror. Take the mirror example again. And if the face you feel that I am trapped in the mirror, my guru has come and his face is also appearing in the mirror and telling my face that you are trapped in the mirror, you must do sadhana and realize you are free of the mirror. When you realize, oh, I'm here, I was never in the mirror, will you feel that I was trapped in the mirror, now I have jumped out of the mirror and come here? No, I was always here. I was somehow confused that I was in the mirror. That's all. And you say, then you might question, follow-up question might be, so the Atman, pure consciousness, can become confused? No, even the confusion was not in the Atman. It was part of the appearance. That's the interesting thing. The gentleman there with the yellow tie. And then the gentleman next to him after that.
How does Advaita respond to the statement that both the subject and object could be illusory, and the only reality is the actual experience? Because that is what we actually feel.
Right. Absolutely agrees. In fact, one of the definitions of Brahman, Anubhava matram param brahma. The transcendent Brahman, the highest Brahman, is pure experience itself. Look at the words very carefully. Anubhava, experience. What experience? All of this. But matram, he adds matram. Matram means if you set aside subject and object. In an experience, what's happening? I am the subject experiencing objects. But if you set aside subject and object, what remains? It's just that awareness. That is Brahman. If you look at experience itself, but then the crucial beauty of Advaita Vedanta, it says that when you set aside the subject, it doesn't set you aside. You are that experience itself. You are pure consciousness itself. That's why the Advaitic teachings of you are that, I am Brahman, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, these are important. These are not setting aside the subject. It's revealing to the subject its real nature. Remove the subjecthood of the subject. But the ultimate reality is revealed thereby. The gentleman next to him, yes. And then you come to the gentleman who was, you were raising your hand? Yeah, this gentleman, right in front of you.
Yes. My name is Manal.
Speak into the mic, please.
Yes.
I have a question. If the consciousness is separate from the object, and someone commits a crime, where does the emotion to commit the crime and the action, where does that come from?
Where does the? No, where does the? The desire to commit a crime. Where does that come from? Notice, when you said someone commits a crime. So is it pure consciousness which commits a crime?
No.
Is it something other than pure consciousness which commits a crime?
Yes.
Not really. Because other than pure consciousness, notice something that happened. We just did this experiment ourselves. Even when the world is not experienced, you are still there. Even when the body or the mind, thoughts and feelings are not experienced, you are still there. You all admitted it, most of you at least. But if that consciousness were not there, nothing would be experienced at all. Right? If that consciousness itself were not there, there would be no seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, nothing. If that pure consciousness were not there, would the crime still happen? No. Who is the one who commits the crime? That's an interesting thing. Who is the jiva? Wait, you said two things. The body, me. But we just worked right now all this time to show that you are not the body. I who? So what we are seeing now is that it's confusing. The reason is the jiva itself is confusion with capital C. So if there is a mirror and I see my face in the mirror and there is some dirt on the mirror, I can see the dirt on my face in the mirror. Is it on my real face? No. But suppose I was not aware of my real face, and I thought I was that, and my face is dirty. Now, who is that face in the mirror? Is it entirely apart from the real face? No, because if the real face were not there, the face in the mirror also wouldn't be there. And yet the real face has no connection with it. The real face is separate from the face in the mirror, but the face in the mirror is not separate from the real face. It depends on the real face. So you, the pure consciousness, here's the answer. Here, you, the pure consciousness, reflected in the mind, and the mind with all its tendencies, past karmas, it shines with the borrowed light. So this conglomeration, this unholy mixture, this unholy combination is the source of all the good that we do and all the evil that we do. And it is this combination which suffers the result of this karma also. This is called jiva. So the jiva is not apart from pure consciousness, but it's not the same as pure consciousness also. This is the enigmatic nature of the jiva. The gentleman there. Yeah, right in front of you. Yeah, please.
I was confused.
He needs to speak into the mic.
Don't worry, there are a few more classes to go. So hopefully the confusions will be ironed out. But yes, confusion leads to question, and that's good.
One is with changing and changing.
Yes.
So when I look at some of the pictures, there are examples in there where you have gold and clay, and gold can be a necklace or a ring or whatever. So the gold is still gold, but
Yes.
it's still changed to a necklace in name and form.
Yes.
And still changed into appearance. Clay is clay.
Right. I get it. So what's the question?
The question is, the clay is there, but it's changed. So it's like,
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. What changes there is name and form, but not the substance. Did the clay change? We think, without thinking, we feel immediately that, okay, so the clay changed into a pot, but did it? Has it become a pot and it's not clay anymore? It's still clay. What changed? So let's take it step by step. Do you agree that the form changed when you make it a bracelet, when you make it a ring, when you make it a necklace? Did the form change or not?
Yes.
Yes, the form changed. And did the name change or not?
Yes.
Apart from the name and the form, the gold itself, as gold, did it change?
No.
No. It's the names which are changing and the forms which are changing and the uses which are changing. The substance itself doesn't change. And that's the point of the example. There is something underlying all of these changes, which is not a thing, but all things are not apart from it. And those names and forms keep changing.
So I was a child, and then now, when I was a teenager, a young adult, and an adult.
Yes.
So like my names and forms are just changing.
Clearly, your body has changed. Clearly, the way you look has changed. Physically, the body has changed, and the mind has changed. Thoughts, ideas, knowledge, memory, all of that has changed. And yet, I mean, apart from Vedanta, notice you're still somehow called the same person. Legally, you're the same person. Now, Vedanta says there is actually a basis for that. You are the same awareness. Notice, it is to you that awareness that your baby experiences happen, the child experiences happen, the teenage experiences happened. The same experience, same awareness experienced all of that. A mind changed, memory changed, all of that changed. Yeah, just wait, hold on to this, right? It takes some getting around. Is there an online question like we can?
Yes,
put to?
there is.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll take one more. Why not somebody from here? The lady here. We'll take a question from the lady here. Yes, online question. Is there an?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is. You want me to do
Yeah,
that?
and
Okay.
we'll end with that.
Give us some method or meditation that one should follow to make us absorb and buzz with the thought that we are Brahman and help us to go in deeper state of meditation.
Good. Give us some method which will, absorb and will buzz with the thought that we are Brahman.
Yeah.
That's what we are doing. I recommend reading the Ashtavakra Gita. I'm serious about it. This is as good. This is easy. I can give you any number of meditations. In fact, for example, Vivek Chudamani, Shankaracharya actually directly gives meditations. Verse number 254, 55, 10 meditations he gives. Vivek Chudamani. Deshakala Vishayati Vatti Yad Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. That consciousness which transcends time, space, and all objects within your own mind, reflect that I am that Brahman. That's one meditation. Like that, 10 meditations are given. And each one, of course, packs in a lot of philosophy. I mean, you have to understand that, how to stay with it. So many such meditations are there. But I'll say the easiest thing is just read the Ashtavakra Gita with understanding, slowly, and repeat. Wherever you feel absorbed and quiet, just stay with it. When you feel your mind is wandering, just read the next verse. Yes. The last question. Tell us your name and ask the question. Don't worry, you'll get an opportunity tomorrow. Good. Tell us your name.
And similar to the question you asked, like, can I say I'm trying to work on the spiritual side and trying to read books and to attain all this and read more the Shravana. So what is that is changing? I mean, what is that which is turning spiritual?
Yes.
Is the consciousness?
No,
or-
it's a good question. So I've got the question, I think. You want to complete the question?
Is that consciousness? Is that what travels after death to another body? Is consciousness, and you said Jivatma, and are both the same? Is that
Right. So that's why I say Nididhyasana. This is a Nididhyasana text. It presupposes, it's not at all for a beginner, right? It presupposes a thorough grounding in Vedanta. All of these are ABCD questions in Vedanta. Basically, she's asking the question, what is the nature of the jiva? What's the difference between pure consciousness and jivatma? What travels after death? Is it the pure consciousness? Is it the jivatma? So all of this is entry level. It should be read, understood, thoroughly digested before you open this book. Or this book can be read directly also. But then the direct reading of this book will be just for inspiration. What I am doing is unpacking the deep meanings in each of the verses. So to answer your questions, the book for that, the answer all the questions in detail, in precise detail, would be a book like Vedanta Sara. Vedanta Sara. If you see, I have a detailed explanation of Vedanta Sara online. Vedanta Sara. That book is also, it's about this big. It's same size. But that's the beginner's book. Compared to Vedanta Sara, this is PhD level. Now, without doing all of that, one can still read this directly, but then you read it for inspiration. Oh, I am the unchanging light. But if you think deeply, then these questions will come up, what she asked. So I'm the unchanging light. Then what is the changing? What is born? What is dying? What's becoming spiritual? If I'm unchanging, then how can I become spiritual? If to become spiritual, I'm changing, right? So all these answers, one answer to all of these questions, the jiva. It is, who is becoming spiritual? You are. Yes, but who am I? That's what we're investigating. See, becoming spiritual, if you mean I'm purifying myself, my mind is becoming more calm, my mind is becoming more sublime. Notice the words, the mind. It is the mind which is changing. What changes when you practice Hatha Yoga? The body. What changes when you practice dhyana, meditation? The mind. What is cultivated when you practice bhakti, devotion? The emotions, purified and turned Godward. So these are what our faculties are being purified and turned towards spiritual life. In all our shravanam, when you hear all this, when you practice daily meditation, when you do seva, service to others, it is purifying our inner instrument, the mind. Just as exercise, yoga, Hatha Yoga, develops the body and purifies the body, similarly, all these spiritual practices, they're purifying the mind. In fact, in Advaita Vedanta, the purpose of all spiritual practices is negative. It is to remove the obstacle, the ignorance which makes us think that I am not Brahman. It's not for making you Brahman, because you already are. It's meant to remove that obstacle, that ignorance, which makes me feel that I am not. I don't even know what you're talking about. This ignorance, this dense cloud of ignorance, is removed by various spiritual practices. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga. And what we are doing here is jnana yoga at its highest. Right? So one question, who travels after death? It is this jivatma. Physical body dies. And it's the subtle body and the causal body. The subtle body, what is subtle body? See, these are all definitions you will find in the in the Vedanta Sara and other books. What is the subtle body? It is the physical body is called Annamaya Kosha. The subtle body is called the Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. See, all so many terms. What are they? Again, Vedanta Sara. Take a look. The causal body is called the Anandamaya. All of that travels from one body to other. Pure consciousness illumines all of this, does not travel anywhere, but is reflected in that. And so you feel, it's like when the mirror, you pick up the mirror and take it from here and put it here. Now your actual face did not travel anywhere, but the reflected face will travel with the mirror. Right? That's a good example. All right, we will stop here and pick it up tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanam